Welcome to Meeple, uniting players from around the world. A 30-minute exploration of PJ and Gareth's board game experiences from across both sides of the Atlantic. Each episode, they share their thoughts and opinions on the world of board games, including their favourite themes, games, hot topics, and much, much more.
Hey, gang, and welcome to episode 54. I am PJ.
And I am Gareth.
And today we're going to talk about Essen Spiel 2023. And I'm sorry to say that we're not going to be going this year, Gareth.
Boo. Another year. And well, for me, another work commitment for the whole week. I'm on the road for 5 days. I'm going to Edinburgh. I'm going to Manchester, but I'm not going to Germany.
You're not going to any gaming conventions, which is sad.
Trust me, I'll find some games to play. There are games when I go away with work, but we are not going to a convention. It's
really interesting, right? Because this whole summer has been a crazy convention season for the both of us, right? I mean, we've been...
Next year, I'll just block out my diary.
However, we have
a cunning plan.
Yes.
We have a Meeple on the ground.
Tell us about our secret weapon.
He is the lovely, the wonderful, the man in yellow, John from Trywin Games. Hello, John.
Hey, John.
Hello, gents. What an absolute pleasure to be in your company.
The pleasure's all ours, I promise.
Honestly, thank you. When you said you'll be going, and would you mind hanging out virtually, and you're going to grab some sound bites similar to what PJ and myself did when we were in Gen Con and we were at UK Games Expo, I was like, brilliant.
Yeah.
And so here we are. This is like the Essen Spiel preview event. You're going, we're not. And in a week and a half's time or so, you'll be back to tell us how wonderful it was and all the things you got up to.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure whatsoever, right? Yeah, no, I think it's going to be an exciting one. I mean, Essen. It's actually the 40th anniversary of Essen this year as well. That's quite exciting.
I think I was looking at it's like 1983, and then was a start, and then last year it was about 147,000 attendees, but pre-COVID was 209. So I don't know how many they're expecting this year, but I guess they're ramping it back up, just like the UK Games Expo ramped back up. So this is your second year.
That's right. So second one in a row. Yeah, first time last year, and it was an exciting experience last year. My expo experience up until then was the UK Games Expo.
Okay,
which is obviously the biggest tabletop games convention in the UK, and it's quite sizable. 2 large halls and a third hall for open gaming. People just come in and play, and then there's the supplementary open gaming in the surrounding hotels too. So it's really a nice sort of social get together as much as a sort of a professional industry showcase. But Essen's just another beast entirely with 6 enormous halls. I know this year is 50,000 of the best square meters of gaming.
That is a lot of space.
Wow. And it's probably more sort of distilled because there's no sort of open gaming bit. It's all just people with product, really, for people to look at it and enjoy, and ideally obviously buy from the vendor's point of view. But the other perspective is that it's just not only bigger in terms of floor space, but also vertically, the stalls are so impressive, so high. It's it's a sight to behold.
I really am going to have FOMO envy by the time this episode is finished. See, I think it's making it worse because I've never been, which is like I think when the kids were younger, we never went because it used to be a half term or around half term week, and now they're older. I've got this ridiculous work thing that's currently getting in the way. For the last couple of years. Work.
So I want to really quickly, John, I want to put this in perspective because particularly for our American listeners, right? Okay. So we said 140 to 200,000 attendees, right? Is that correct? And then you said how many, would you say How big square meters you said it was again?
Yeah, 50,000 square meters.
50,000. So Gen Con at its height this year, 80,000 attendees, right?
Wow.
And we pat we American gamers, we pat ourselves on the back for having this, it's the largest convention in America. This is cool. 80,000 guys. They've got twice as much in Germany. Come on. This is crazy. This is insane. I'm trying to fathom this. You're describing it. Like, it took us 3 episodes to discuss what happened at Gen Con this year. So how many episodes is it going to take for you to come on and talk about Essen?
Do you think you'll get round it all from last year? Did you see it all, or did you skim? I guess you're there for you gave 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. So last time it was I went for the full 4 days from the Thursday to the Sunday. This year, so there's a different feel for each day. So Saturday is clearly the busiest day because it's the easiest one where people can turn up on the weekend. Sunday is then a tail off day, but then Thursday and Friday. Thursday is the proper hardcore fans day because you'll have the people there right at the gates with the empty suitcases, running through that convention as soon as it's open and queuing and grabbing their favourite games. And then Friday's just got a mixed vibe where it's sort of a transition between the hardcore fans and then the sort of tourists, if you like. So you've got that buzz building. Seeing it all. So last time, as a comparison, there 4 days, got round at a good pace, didn't get to play many games because a lot of the tables were regularly occupied, which is obviously great for the stalls.
Yeah.
We got to see lots of games. One thing I'll come back to a bit later was the Asian game sector because that was fantastic. But it was a light skim through all the halls. On the first day, we kind of ran round to try and see if we could just fathom where everything was, get our bearings, and then pinpoint things later. Did not work. Got about 2.5 halls done. So then we was like, okay, we need to be a bit more realistic, and then started enjoying it more on the Friday. But come Sunday at about 2:00, there was still things that we hadn't seen. So it's a case of kind of skimming that the floor plan before you get there and just saying, okay, make some sort of priorities, and then flush out any other bits that you can try and snag.
I've looked through the Board Game Geek preview list they have, and it's all sorted, and it's got the publishers, it's the stands, it's the booths, and there's 1,200 games on there. Some of them are not necessarily new, but I've only worked my way through maybe the first 5 pages and just gone some of them I'd be fascinated to hear and see people's reports on. Others I'm like, it's quite like the artwork, but I'd want to go and check it out. Yeah. So I guess it is that pre-show prep of taking that map, starring the ones you want to visit, and at least maybe having a stab at working your way through. But it does sound epic. Honestly. Yeah, cannot wait to hear more.
So they've got their own supporting app, and it's just got all the details that you need, and the map is interactive and especially useful on the day, because if you want to navigate to one location in one hall to another, you click where you are and where you want to go, and
it will
navigate for you.
Oh, nice!
And then you can filter your games by design or whatnot. So it's really there to help you cut through and get what you experience.
So does Essen have? We've talked before about Gen Con, at least, events that you can sign up for in advance, or is it all shopping and demoing of games at Essen?
That's a very good question. I should have researched this beforehand.
I haven't seen stuff advertised. Like UK Games Expo has quite an event thing.
Right.
Those things may happen back in the hotels, because I think, if I'm right in saying, John, most of the gaming happens after hours in the hotel and surrounding areas. There isn't really an open gaming as such.
That's right.
Which is even more mind-blowing when you think that the UK game, and so Gen Con has got a huge amount of space for gaming. So John, you started your trip to Essen a few days ago, and you've already travelled how many miles have you travelled already?
So 966 and a half
900.
so far.
So you started
And
in
a
the
half,
UK
and a half.
It's the half that matters, because otherwise I
really
wouldn't be with
does.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've been from the UK. You
Mhm.
travelled under the tunnel,
Yep.
or in the Eurotunnel,
Yep.
into the Netherlands, or
So,
France,
yeah.
Netherlands.
Yeah, into France, through Belgium, into the Netherlands. Yeah,
Did a bit of hanging out with some Instagram friends there,
that's right. Yeah.
and then you've been through Germany.
Yeah, through Germany, just across the border into Denmark, and stayed there for a short overnight stop. And then from just over the border through Denmark, across some of the most stunning bridges we've ever seen.
Amazing.
And then into where we are now, which is just north of Copenhagen. Yeah.
And then you're in Copenhagen. And why are you in Copenhagen?
So yeah, some listeners may not know. So my board game thing is Trywin Games, and in 2016 started the development of a game. So the game Can't Go, which I was demoing at the UK Games Expo, which I know you mentioned in your previous podcast. And the very first demo in was done in the 2019 UK Games Expo, and the game was very functional, and the artwork looked a similar level of black and white functional. And lots of people said you need to tidy the artwork up, and somebody suggested the kawaii sort of Japanese cute art style, which I didn't know what that was, so I looked into that, and then started looking through Instagram for somebody to do the artwork. And stumbled upon this picture of this little like kawaii style duck, and I thought, the person who drew that's who I want to do this artwork for my game. So I contacted the artist, and I said, gave her a little bit of background. I've developed this game, it's toilet themed. I don't know if you've ever done board game artwork, or if you'd like to. And this was on the Sunday night, I think it was, from coming back from the expo. And the Monday morning, she'd message back going, "This is fantastic. Let's make it happen." I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And that was the first time I'd sort of met, if you like, Sinna, so Sinna Lund in Copenhagen. So since 2019 to now, I've been working on the artwork for the game. And all of that goodness was put into the prototype version that I demoed this year. But we have never actually met. So when Essen was coming around, I thought, well, Germany, Denmark, they're close together. So Essen and Copenhagen must be close together, surely. I mean, they're not.
Of course, right? Yeah, they must be.
It's all the same landmass. It must be across the border.
Yeah. So that's how the extended Essen trip began, with sort of bringing in Copenhagen into that extended circle round. I mean, the distance between, not quite Essen because we're just staying outside of Essen, where it's just over 400 miles between Copenhagen and Essen.
Fair
so that
play.
will be the last pre-Essen bit of the trip on the Wednesday. So Copenhagen will be good. And because Copenhagen we're here for a few days, and because it's just a short drive and then a bridge away from Sweden, hopping into check out Sweden too, because it would be silly not to.
It would be. It'd be rude. Yeah, that's amazing.
I agree.
What a road trip. So by the time you finished, how many miles do you think you would have done?
So all in all, including the short stop in Bruges on the way back, it'll be, I think, just nudging over 2,000
Good work.
great miles.
Nice.
That is a trip and a half. Yeah, fair play. So you'll end up in Essen on Wednesday, ready for Thursday.
That's right.
What are your highlights? What have you got? Have you got like 2 or 3 things that you're definitely going to see, or are you just going to go with the flow?
So actually, there is one person that I'm. So the other, I mean, I didn't want to heighten the FOMO thing, but because of the position of Essen, especially if you've got lots of European friends, followers, and whatnot, they naturally congregate there because it's on their equivalent doorstep, I suppose. So there's lots of people who are going to be at Essen from Insta, and one person I will mention to begin with, so I'd actually met her last year for the first time, was Jenny, who is boardgame _ Spiel Essen on Instagram, based in Germany. And last year she was great at just corralling people before Essen to say, "Are you going to Essen? Do you want to hang out?" Da, da, da. So there's a couple of pictures of that gang together, and she's done the same this year. So she's arranged a meal on one of the evenings for people to hang out with. So
that is awesome.
And the other person of the many that I'm keen to meet or see again is Jack from Splitstone Games, who's done the Mycelia game.
He's doing very well currently on Kickstarter.
He's doing fantastically. I mean, he definitely deserves to, not only just because of the artwork, which is stunning, and because he's such a good guy, but actually, so at the Games Expo, there was the press evening before the main event, and he was dead opposite me. So it was cool because he was doing like all the talking to various people, and he got the big mushroom hat thing that people were wearing.
That's right.
Even for that. It's just so cool.
Nice.
So,
I think that's one of the highest rated previews I've done for my other channel.
Yeah.
So just for the quality, the art, the gameplay, it's very good. So if you haven't checked it out and you're still listening, and it's maybe about 18 days to go. Must be about 2 weeks ago, mustn't I think? Check out Mycelia. It's on Kickstarter. It is a very good game. Okay, it'd be great. Any other designers or anyone else?
There are other designers, but there is an area that is more. I think this is the area that stood out most from the first Essen trip, and so with the first one, they sort of grouped things in a particular way, and there was one hall which was largely the sort of the Asian contingent of designers and suppliers and whatnot, and it was great where you just had a hall where all those folks were together, and it sounds really naive in a way, but a lot of the games just had a different feel, not just because of the artwork and the sort of people presenting them, but the kind of style of gameplay, and it just added something. It just made it more of sort of an obviously international event where you had this board of, because obviously the UK and US get a lot of the Euro games, so that feel, while it's come from Europe, it's quite familiar.
Right.
So it's good to have this extra thing of going, okay, just because I've seen some of the local sort of tabletop stores and what they've got in, that's still not everything at all.
Right.
So it was nice to see, even more of a variety. So that's the sort of zone.
That'd be really good, because I think 5 or 6 years ago there used to be a European site that had loads and loads of import from the Asia market.
Okay.
And it was great to just go browsing, because like you say, there's stuff you'd never seen, never picked up before.
Yeah.
So once in a while I do an order, but I think with COVID they shut down just because of the import bit. But I would love to hear more about that in a couple of weeks' time, and what the highlights there were.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
PJ, what about you? Is there anything that if you were going, you would go, these are the 2 or 3 games that...
I have one absolute
must.
Absolute. And I'm ready to be fair,
Google it.
This directive, John, is not coming from me, but rather is coming from my wife. She sent me an email. She goes, "You tell John he needs to go to this booth." So, you need to go to this booth.
Mrs. Cajun Gamer.
Yes. Okay. The name of the game is Mythwind. MYTH. Mythwind.
Mythwind.
Yes. But here's the interesting thing, and maybe you can talk about this, because I don't understand. I don't have context for the information I'm about to give you. On October 6th, I don't know if that's Wednesday, whether that's Thursday or Friday, but on October 6th, they're going to be at Hall 2, booth C142. But on October 7th, they're going to be in Hall 4, booth D113.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on.
I think they share people share stands, don't they? So depending on the day, they're on different, like guests, they're on other people's stands. So that'll be there with another somebody or other.
So at Gen Con, even if you're sharing a space, you stay put. There's no moving. This is where you are, so that people can find you. The reason is that we've backed Mythwind, and it's I think it's on a ship, or it's going to be on a ship, or it's going to be on.
It's not far from Shipping After Essen, it says. This
really
looks good.
cool.
Tell us more.
We want you to look at it. Tell us about it. It's this open narrative world. You know, my wife and I are big into campaign games. That's right, Gareth. Another campaign game.
This is PJ. Mythwind is a persistent world, asymmetrical, cooperative board game. Basically, this is PJ's perfect game.
It is. It really
you
is.
Become a pioneer in a whimsical fantasy world.
If
to tick all of the requirements for a PJ game, that just ticked it off in that one sentence.
The only thing that could make it from 99% to 100 to be pure perfection for me is if it were set in New Orleans and there was a parade. That's all. That's it. But they're also going to be releasing Stars of Acarius. I'm probably slaughtering that. It's a big space game that just looks really amazing. I think it's coming to Kickstarter in November after Essen, if I'm not mistaken. But I want pictures. If they've got just tell me anything. But my wife wants to hear about Mythwind and what's going on, and send us photographs and just tell us everything great, because we're really excited. We backed that years ago, so we're ready for it to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Consider that done. Consider it done.
Excellent. Yeah. I also have a follow-up question about your trip. So on the way back, you're going to stop in Bruges.
Yeah.
Right? Will you be playing Bruges while in Bruges? Because that is the meta experience right there.
I will say yes, and then I will desperately try and make it happen.
We went to Bruges to play Bruges in Bruges, and we completely failed. We got to Bruges, but we didn't play Bruges in Bruges.
I've had friends go to Carcassonne and play Carcassonne while in Carcassonne. I mean, you got to do that, right? I mean, that is the thing to do. So, yeah.
Does this mean that when you guys actually really meet up, you're going to meet in something like, I don't know, like Highclere Castle, and then play Obsession together? Because
that really is it. Yeah. The other week, I just side story. I thought I could just pop along to Highclere Castle, but you can't. It's booked out like months in advance.
Oh yeah,
you just can't turn up. I don't know. I was disappointed. It's quite close to us.
Well, you need to book a time for us when we get there.
That's where we're going to meet. John, that is inspirational.
That is so where we're going to meet. Why did we not think of that?
I don't know. That's why John's the designer and we're not.
Oh my gosh.
What was I? I'll probably pronounce it wrong. There's a game based on the Celts. Celtae? It's plural. That the artwork popped up. Celtae. Celtae. It's worker swapping game. You know, like with a rondel. I mean, that's a game for me. I haven't done much more research than that. I just sort of boxed up, popped out, and thought that looks pretty nice. So I don't know where the stand is. Pythagoras Games, is one that popped out. If I was going to wander around looking for things, that one would be on my top of my list. Anything your side, John? You've got.
Well, naturally, since your previous interview is the I don't know how you actually say their games company, the Team Kavango, right? Is it Mazaza Games?
Mazaza Games, yes. Yeah, that would be amazing if you could pop along and say hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another Kickstarter that is doing very, very well since we had them on the show 2 weeks ago.
Funded in like 7 minutes. It was just amazing. Yes. You're responsible. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, John, is that you have to give Matt and Zara a big old hug from me. And
we do share virtual hugs around the world. I mean, that's kind of how it works.
They are beautiful people. That was an amazing. I don't know about you, Gareth. That was my favorite episode of Meeple to Meeple.
And me. Yeah, it was.
I mean, not against any of our previous guests. That conversation just, wow. Yeah, that was incredible. So I've got another one for you. This was just to check out. I don't have any booth information for you, but it's relevant to our podcast, and I just learned about it today. That is Side Quest Nemesis. Gareth, have you seen this?
Is this a new game, or is this is
going to be out? I don't know if it's coming out at Essen, if it's being released at Essen, but everything says October 2023. They're going to have a booth. It's like, I don't know. It's set in the Nemesis world, but it is like I thought I had it pulled up. No,
I'm on it. I'm loving the box art.
Right? Like I saw this and I was like, are you kidding? As much as you and I talk about Nemesis, I'm like, how have we not learned about this before?
SideQuest Nemesis.
SideQuest Nemesis.
It's a game of puzzles and enigmas by the designers of escape. So it's like an escape room.
Yeah, but in puzzle the Nemesis.
Game. Oh, this is on my wish list.
Yep. Your second mission, John, if you should choose something.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. That does look nice. Good find.
Yeah.
This one is been in development for a while. So Flame Rouge Grand Tour. So I'm a big fan of Flame Rouge. The Grand Tour brought together, like, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the Grand Tour was originally kind of floated, which was basically bringing together a number of tracks. But this is now fully fledged, full expansion. So multi-stage campaigns, short 3-stage tours, campaign mode, more tracks, more special stages, more riders. I think this is the final kind of the box to the Flame Rouge. So I'm a Flame Rouge fan over the Heat fan.
I know you are.
So yeah, that is finally getting an Essen release. So that's another one that I would love to hear about. But I also know, John, you've got lots to get round. So I'm just giving my little tips.
So is it? So I think they're in Hall 3. Is that? Oh, I don't know.
La Tipoli? Yeah, we both destroyed it. It probably isn't, but it's fine.
No, it's good. It's good.
Of course, Art Nova Marine Worlds is that an Essen? I think that is an Essen release, isn't it?
Yeah, they had they had sample copies at Gen Con, and it's beautiful. So I mean, John, whether we talk about it on the podcast or not, you need to go look at it because it's. I don't know if you enjoy Arc Nova, but Marine Worlds, it's beautiful because the action cards, the 5 action cards you have, they're now asymmetrical. So the sponsor's action is not. It's like the sponsor's action but your sponsor's card is different from mine, and that's really cool. So we luckily got to see that while we were at Gen Con. And speaking of Gen Con, this is more for you than it is for the podcast, but you should check out Sky Team, which will be in Hall 6, F300 or 6F300. I can't even read my own handwriting. Isn't that great? It's a 2-player game. I think it's already out now. I think it came out of Gen Con, but they sold out. So everybody in the Instagram community that we were hanging out with, they all got a copy, except for me. It's a 2-player game where one of you is a pilot and the other one's a co-pilot on an airplane, and you're trying to approach the runway and land, and you have to do it through communication. And it's like, this is cool. It's almost the opposite of Far Away by Cherry Pick Games, because this is where right, you remember in Far Away we can't talk when we leave.
Yeah.
This one you do, and you got to communicate through. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That sounds fun.
It's just worth checking out. Yeah,
that sounds really cool.
Anything else, John, you've got on your highlights list? Or are you going to keep it all a surprise for when you come back?
I'm tempted to keep the powder dry.
That's okay. Gareth and I probably have enough titles to cover the rest of this episode.
I've got one more. I had one more. I mean, I've got 20 or so, but I'm going to send those to John, and he can just pick them off if he has a minute. The other one I had was a Czech Games Edition game, which was Kutná Hora, City of Silver.
I had that on my list as well.
Which is a historical city building game, Euro game for 2 to 4 players. Real life supply and demand again. Anything civilization building or city building.
That is your jam.
Is my jam. Mine ore, smelt it into a fortune of silver. I mean, that sounds amazing.
Right? No, I get it. I know. Plus, you're probably going to go check out Czech Games anyway, because they're going to, I imagine, based on the footprint they had at Gen Con, I can only imagine what it'll be at Essen because they're such a big company. So they also do a lot for the content creators. When we were at Gen Con Saturday night, they had like a content creator gathering and get together.
Nice.
It was like open gaming for content creators, which was kind of cool. Yeah, again, it was like after hours. So
you got the Lost Ruins of Arnak as well, haven't you? The expansion.
Yep.
For that's hot. Okay. Anything else your side, PJ?
Yes, I've got a 2-player game I absolutely need you to find. And that is, I want to get a preview copy of this so that we could talk about it on the podcast. And it's Patterns, a mandala game. It's a 2-player game by Lookout Games. It's a sequel to Mandala. Now, for those of you listening, not Mandala Stones, but the 2-player game Mandala. One of my friends here in Springfield, David, he'll come over every other Thursday night, and we do a lot of 2-player games. That in Lost Cities, but Mandala hits the table regularly.
It really is an underrated game. That game needs more attention. It's fantastic.
It does. And now there's a sequel, and I'm like, oh my God, this is John. John.
It's nice. It looks really nice as well. It looks like a little bit of additional to the original Mandala.
But so it's like you're trading or matching tea tiles.
Yeah.
This one, yeah. It looks so good. Oh, and I'm a sucker for 2-player games. Man. I'm gonna throw another one at you. I found this one. Oh no, I'm not done. But I found this one today. To be fair, I found it today.
Okay.
And y'all may already know about this. It's number 9++.
Oh, okay.
So
is it different? So that's the 0 to 9 tiles.
Yep.
And you're making layers.
But this is number 9++ by Spiel. That's the problem, is that on BGG there's not a lot of information, but it's like I don't know. That's why I'm sending John to go look at it and tell me, take picture and be like, hey, this is what it is. Or he can send me a message and go, it's the same game, don't worry about it. But no, it looked really interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of cool. So my sister-in-law was here this weekend, and in fact, she left to go back home this morning. She loves number 9. We taught it to her last Christmas, I think. So she came over and just wiped the floor with Katie and I. I think it hit the table 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's like, man, I can't win. It's like tiles and numbers is just her thing, and she just destroyed us. So yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's just got some like variants. Like you can play it 1 or 2 players and then combine it with the original box to make 6 players. Good spots, VJ. Good spots.
Yeah. Those were serendipitous, to be fair. That Side Quest Nemesis, those 2 I discovered today, and I'm like, oh my goodness, gotta.
I noticed that the number 1 game of the hotness on Board Game Geeks is Among Cultists, a social deduction thriller, which I'd not heard of until. I guess it's based on the Among Us theme. PJ, this has got to be a big tick from you.
Oh,
I know how much you love social deduction. I know how much you love lying to each other. It's a perfect game.
Oh yeah. It's perfect for someone other than me.
Yeah.
John, if you like social deduction, then go ahead by all means, right? But
so
do you like social deduction?
So, I mean, with a lot of games, obviously this is the case, but I think social deduction for me is enormously weighted on the sort of group that you're playing with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not so much about whether you can tell if other people are lying or whatever, but just how you can just kind of do whatever you like in that space and have fun with the game to its fullest extent, and everyone just enjoys it rather than feeling irked or whatever. So it does vary. But actually, so Jenny, I was talking about earlier, that's one of her must-see games. So we're going to try and
get over
there. And
I would definitely like to hear more. I do like a social deduction game. Cultists try to wake something evil Be prepared. Okay.
See, that feels like an opportunity for a massive, magical, open world campaign that's cooperative. No, let's make it social deduction where people lie. Like,
not only is it number 1 in hotness, I've just noticed there's also various expansions at numbers like 7 and number 8.
Okay.
So there's at least down into the abyss. Mountains of Chaos. These are great names, aren't they?
They
Doom. Cascadia expansions.
We saw that at Gen Con.
Yeah, the Shipyard 2. The original game was really good.
Yeah.
That's a good game. I used to own that many moons ago and sold it before it came out of print.
That
I could be here for days.
Oh yeah, the Great Harbor.
Names.
The Great Harbor looks really cool. Oh my goodness. If Garfield Games is on your list, I guess my only question for them, they've got Ezra and Nehemiah coming soon. I'm just curious as to where they are in terms of the schedule. Are they on target and everything's looking good? Because we're really interested in that one for a multitude of reasons, personally as a gamer and also for work, because anything that's biblical or set in the Old Testament or anything of that nature, we can use that in our Catholic education at work. So I know
any reason to share the love of games.
Yeah, right? Yeah. If I can bring this to work and it can do, So that's on our radar.
So John, to wrap up, have you got any top tips? Have you got 1 or 2 tips for anyone who's going to the first time?
Yeah, I would say number 1 is download the Essen app because it's an enormously valuable resource, both in terms of event prep, because there's an interactive map that shows the overall layout, and then if you tap on each of the halls, then it shows you a detailed layout of each hall, so you can skim through where everyone is.
That is incredible.
If you only download it on the morning of arriving, it's still useful because you can tap in who you want to see first, and it will help you navigate from where you are to where you want to go.
So nice.
I would also recommend checking out where the nearest facilities are, not just because toilet theme stuff is always on my mind, but just for practicality. And as a bare minimum, and I know you've mentioned this as one of your previous sort of expo tips thing, is keep some water on you. Keep it topped up through the day. Keep yourself topped up through the day. And a snack or 2. There's loads of food places. Food is very easy to come by. But it just helps if you're stuck in a particularly big queue or delayed while you're playing the game or whatnot. And actually, the other thing is, and I know this sort of varies from person to person, is so even the same time with other first timers last year, some people were really sort of overwhelmed by the experience of the scale of Essen, both the sort of height and footfall of it all.
Yeah.
But I think the thing to sort of reflect on is that you don't have to part with all of your money to have a really good time. But it's there to be enjoyed. It's there to make have fun. And if it's feeling too much, just have a minute somewhere. If you're with friends, just either let them know and just have 5 or have 5 with them, whatever. And just remind yourself of just getting the most fun out of it, because that's you could make it a really miserable time if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Lots of people, lots of things to look at, and you just go, well, actually, no, this is really cool. There's some really unique people, things to see, other people to sort of see playing games. So yeah, I think that's probably
those are top tips.
Those are really good. Hey, question about number 5, your final tip. So at Gen Con, there are hotels that are attached to the ICC by Skybridge. Is there anything like that in Essen, where there's hotels that are attached with a pedestrian bridge walkway so they don't have to go outside or, be exposed to traffic or anything like that?
That's a very good question. As far as I know, there isn't, because I think the sort of setup is a multi-use exhibition hall, and it's that's it. You come out, and then you're just out on the not out on the streets for fending for yourself in the wild,
right?
But you're heading to Essen. The other thing that is cool, though, we found this last year, was even though you leave the sort of official halls of Essen and out in the real world, you're not going to be very far away from other gamers. So we ended up walking for quite a while, a couple of nights, to find somewhere to eat. And our neighbours, who ended up on other tables, within a few moments, they were either talking about games or brandished games that they'd bought. So we were talking to them about it. So we met some people from Chile and some people from other places. So there's lots of people who were there just to help. So it just feels a nice place to be, even when you're outside of the expo itself.
Just one big board gaming family.
Yeah. So if someone's visiting Essen for the first time, and like you just described, they're feeling overwhelmed, how easy is it for an individual to find somewhere to just decompress for a minute, a quiet corner? How easy is that, do you think?
So I think there are stages of quiet across the different halls. So if you wanted to sort of just keep in the expo itself without kind of getting too far out, there are definitely quieter sort of little sanctuaries, if you like, that you'll just find other people just having a sit down, just having a bit of a drink or whatever. And I think that's probably something, if you're likely to need that sort of break, which actually subconsciously we did last time. So there were sort of areas and pockets in the building. So I remember one was by a stairwell by the toilet block, as it happened. The toilets, I think, were one level down. But there was this zone which was, I don't know how big it'd be, but it was big enough where people could just have a sit down for a few minutes, and it was just a little out of the way, a little bit quieter, and you could just recompose yourself, re-energize yourself, and go back and have some more fun.
Go again.
Nice. One last question is the language barrier, right? So you're going to have Americans who most likely don't speak any other language but English, and Americans English at that. And then they're going to go to Germany and be exposed to everyone from around the world. How is that for someone who is not multilingual?
So my experience last year was actually it was quite, once you were inside the expo, it was quite difficult to realise you were actually in Germany.
Right.
Because most of it was just catering for English-speaking markets. So I'm trying to think, the main different country stands, I guess, that we visited were, so with the sort of Asian, Japanese sort of area people. So they were fresh over from Japan, but no language barrier whatsoever. Spoke to people from Norway, obviously Germany, other European countries. So with some of the board game manufacturers, especially, so like with Poland and Germany too, and also China, there's no language concern at all from an English speaking perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Amazing.
I was thinking about listening you to describe the experience. I was thinking about like the Olympics, right? You know, the Olympics are in English and French are the two official languages. And I was thinking, because Essen is such a large scale, like there may be some sort of an official language within Essen, but it sounds like everything caters to English mostly. But everyone should be fine getting around.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is with a lot of the games is, so this was especially true with some of the Japanese ones, is with some of the games they were totally language neutral. So I remember one of the games where you have I can't remember the name, but you have a card and there are 4 images on the top of the card, and you have to feel underneath to work out which of the images on the top is the one underneath the card.
Wow.
Okay.
That's so cool.
So it's totally language independent, because it's just a feel and point if you kind of want to boil it down to the basics. But I think that's the other thing, is that the people there, they want to convey a nice time to people. So they use lots of different techniques, and obviously the spoken word is one, but there are other ways to help introduce someone to a potential nice experience in a box or something.
Cool. Cool.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wish you the best and safest travels as you continue your European road trip for the next couple of days, and then as you head your way to Essen on Wednesday. And I just have an absolutely amazing time over those 4 days. I look forward to seeing your content. What is your Instagram handle? If anyone hasn't,
just Trywin Games.
TRYWIN Games. Trywin Games. Yeah. It'll be in the description as well. But thank you, John. Thank you, PJ, as ever.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Please subscribe. And as always, we love to hear your thoughts and ideas. So make sure to leave those in the comments. And don't forget, you can also chat with us both on Instagram at Meeple to Meeple.